Hi, welcome to our presentation of the paper Creative Collaboration with the Brain of a Search Engine, Effects on Cognitive Stimulation and Evaluation Apprehension, which was written by Michiel, Alwin and me, Mélanie. So today I would like to give you some more information on how we executed our study and the insights we gained. So creative collaborations with AI, what has been happening? On the left we have an example of a portrait from Edmond de Bellamy. This portrait was generated by a neural network and developed by artists collective Obvious AI and Art, which has been sold for $432,500 at the world we-owned auction house Christie's on October 25th, 2018. Quite impressive. Another example on the right, a totally different one, is artist Songjun Chung collaborating with a robotic arm dog. Here, the robotic arm has been programmed to mimic her movements in real time while she's drawing. So she gets inspired by how the arm is drawing and derives from there. So this is quite impressive, and as we have seen, AI-driven hardware and software have become omnipresent. The possibilities of running excessively large trained neural networks have increased. This means that our databases are also getting more and more larger, and that we make more connections, better connections with associations, so that we can go on and on by making new associations. To be clear, this study defines the brain of a search engine as the semantic networks that emerge from the search engine's neural network, factorization techniques and other algorithms. For example, content analysis, metadata and ranking model from which it draws its associations. Recent work suggests that creators, from laypersons to professional artists, routinely rely on these search engines. For example, I think we all done it before. If you're looking for something, if you have something in your head and you want to get more inspiration, you go online on Google, type in what you're looking for, and you get output by Google's search engine, and from there you go, oh hey, I want a dog, oh those features, indeed I need to include them in my painting, and you go further. Yet relatively little is known about how collaboration with the brains of these search engines affect creative task performance. So we dove into this, and we thought of two different perspectives. At one side we have the cognitive perspective, and at the other side we have the social perspective. So from the cognitive perspective, we were wondering how AI could stimulate us differently than another person. Cognitive stimulation here is the degree to which output by another person or system inspires more and more novel associations. This was actually an open question because we compare our semantic network with a neural network of a search engine, and we actually had no idea if this was increase or decrease cognitive stimulation when compared to the output of another human being. So it was quite open. Then on the social perspective, we were wondering if AI could remove the mitigation of the issues that commonly arise during creative collaboration among people. Evaluation apprehension means that you're not actually sharing all your ideas due to the fear of being evaluated negatively, which is not stimulating during ideation. During ideation, you want to lay all your ideas on the table so that you can inspire others, and that you actually nothing is too crazy during ideation. So it's really important that that you don't experience evaluation apprehension or fear of anxiety. So we know that evaluation apprehension happens during creative collaboration among people, but it raises actually a novel question on how individuals experience these kind of feelings when collaborating with a search engine. A search engine is, for example, or not for example, it is a technology, so it's not a person. which means that you have a limited perceived social agency, which could actually decrease social evaluation apprehension, which is good. But on the other hand, it could also raise other questions on or elect technology-specific forms of evaluation apprehension that individuals are too shy to share their IDs because of privacy issues. We don't know. So from that, we came up with the research question: how does creative collaboration with the brain of a search engine affect creative task performance? From here, we had 3 hypotheses. The first one, creative collaboration with the brain of a search engine compared to creative collaboration with an averagely creative person influences divergent thinking due to its effect on cognitive stimulation. As I've said before, we didn't really know if it would increase or decrease divergent thinking, but we thought it would definitely have an effect on our cognitive stimulation. Second, creative collaboration with the brain of a search engine compared to creative collaboration with an averagely creative person positively influences divergent thinking due to a negative effect on evaluation apprehension. And third, the effects of creative collaboration with the brain of a search engine compared to collaboration with an averagely creative person on divergent thinking via evaluation apprehension is moderated by a person's attitude towards AI. So we had an independent variable, which was the type of collaborator, an AI versus another person, and a dependent variable, divergent thinking. Our mediators, cognitive stimulation, evaluation apprehension, and the moderator for the third hypothesis, general attitudes towards AI. So here we see the stimuli and the experimental conditions. On the left, we see 2 images that we used. There were self-generated illustrations of a rocket and a flower, so that the AI wouldn't recognize it. We put the stimuli into Google's reverse image search. And on the right, we see the chat interface that has been used during our study. On the top, you see the output of the collaborator, which was either an AI or a human condition. And at the bottom, you see the input where the participants could give their input. So we pooled 139 participants that were randomly assigned to collaborate with either a creative AI or another person. During the experiment, they were asked to do a free association task on divergent thinking with 2 self-generated illustrations. So they were presented with either a flower or the rocket and were asked to come up with as many associations for the next 2 minutes. Then we had 2 different types of collaborators: an AI condition, which was the Google reverse image search that generated AI-powered associations as images and were then manually translated into words to avoid confounding variables in a later stadia of the experiment, of the study, sorry. And then we have the human condition, which was a combination of associations from 8 people that were represented an averagely creative person, as indicated by the scores on Runkun's ideational behavior scale. These associations were also gathered beforehand. To realize a sense of real-time collaboration, because participants were not actually interacting in real time with the AI or the human condition, the interval at which associations were presented mimicked the human divergent thinking process, which was retrieved from Benedict's studies. This means that for the first 30 seconds, we had an interval of 3 seconds, then the next 30 seconds of 5 seconds, the next 30 seconds of 7.5 seconds, and the last 30 seconds of 50 seconds. Furthermore, the study has been approved by the Research Ethics and Data Management Committee of Tilburg School of Humanities and Digital Sciences. To assess divergent thinking, we had 2 operators. First, the fluency, which actually was the number of associations produced. Those were counted by the researchers. And then we collected the association produced and put it into the SEMDIS software, in which calculated the semantic distance between those associations and the stimuli. Then cognitive stimulation, evaluation, apprehension, and general attitudes towards AI were measured with a self-report questionnaire, where cognitive stimulation was assessed with 6 items on a 5-point Likert scale, evaluation apprehension with 7 items on a 5-point Likert scale, and general attitudes towards AI with 20 items on a 5-point Likert scale. So these are the results, and I will explain now what this means for our hypothesis. So the first hypothesis, creative collaboration with the brain of a search engine compared to creative collaboration with an averagely creative person influences divergent thinking due to its effect on cognitive stimulation, was accepted. However, there is a negative influence on divergent thinking on cognitive stimulation when collaborating with an AI. So working with another person stimulates us more. The second hypothesis, creative collaboration with the brain of a search engine compared to creative collaboration with an averagely creative person, positively influences divergent thinking due to a negative effect on evaluation apprehension, was partially accepted. Collaborating with an AI reduces evaluation apprehension, however, no subsequent effect on divergent thinking. And the last one, the effects of creative collaboration with the brain of a search engine compared to creative collaboration with an averagely creative person on divergent thinking via evaluation apprehension is moderated by a person's attitudes towards AI, was rejected. There was no effect of moderating of general attitudes as a moderator. So these discussion points are from the cognitive perspective. AI-powered systems may retrieve information that is different or weird in the wrong way, or just too similar. So that's maybe why we are not enjoining it to work too much with this. And this means that our routine reliance on AI-powered system for daily creative tasks may thus negatively affect cognitive stimulation and should be chosen carefully when considering the source for our inspirations. And from the social perspective, AI-powered system might serve as a psychological safety net, especially when you experience a lot of fear during ideation. And speculations that a person's general attitudes towards AI introduces a different cause of evaluation apprehension could not be confirmed. There are some limitations to our study, which, so normally Google reverse image search happens via its graphical user interface, and we translated the images into words manually, which might have biased the study to some extent. And second, the low social richness in both experimental conditions might have influenced effects on evaluation apprehension, since non-verbal or verbal expressions of others may normally worsen evaluation apprehension, and this was now limited. So future work should therefore focus on the social cues on evaluation apprehension and subsequent divergent thinking, for example, face-to-face collaborations. And the positive direct effect of creative human-AI collaboration on semantic distance requires further investigation, as it may be that AI-generated association stimulates divergent thinking but is not perceived as cognitively stimulated by the individuals themselves. So to summarize, the study contributes to an emerging body of work on the efficiency of creative human-AI collaboration by showing that creative collaboration with the brain of a search engine compared to creative collaboration with an averagely creative person reduces cognitive stimulation but also evaluation apprehension, and that a person's general attitude towards AI does not introduce a novel form of evaluation apprehension. So thank you so much for listening. If you have more information or for more information or question, please contact me. And I would now, I'll again thank you for listening.